Welcome back to Thompson to Clark. Brad, the season started in
Did it now? Do over.
the opposite of the way that we had hoped. Though, we've had a couple of days to sit on this, and I think if you take out the first game, right? The first game when you have your ace on the mound, the score, how that game got out of hand very quickly, maybe the misnomer. The other two games are kind of like more of what you would expect, and then with the changes that they've made, the offense not flowing yet, those made a lot more sense. But it's still 3-game sweep, and you start the season in the hole. And now, if you're gonna make the playoffs, you probably got to go 6 games over 500 from here, or whatever it is. But we'll talk about that series in a second. We're gonna actually kick off with some news because there has been some news as of today. So as we know, Luis Matos was DFA'd because he did not make the 40-man, or he did not make the 26-man roster. He didn't have any options left. So we figured that he was going to be picked up, and the Brewers made a claim, and the Giants worked out a deal with the Brewers. I think they got back, the gentleman named cash considerations.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
And so Matos is now a Brewer. Good luck to Matos. I hope he does well. If he actually becomes the player that we were hoping he was going to become, that would be frustrating for Giants fans, but good for him because he seemed like he's a good kid. And then they made a trade for right-handed reliever Dylan Smith, who didn't make the Tigers opening day roster, and he was also out of options. I believe that's what happened.
I think he's got 2 options actually. So that one I'm still not quite sure how that whole thing went down, because I believe he has 2 options because the Giants were able to send him to AAA this season. So he even has another option next year, which is crazy.
Okay, so whatever that thing was, the way to add him to the 40-man meant that they had to clear another spot, and that spot was formerly Tyler Fitzgerald's spot. So they had to DFA Tyler Fitzgerald today to make room for Smith, who is now in AAA. So, man, in one day, the Giants lose Luis Matos and Tyler Fitzgerald. Fitzgerald, it's still hard for me to believe that he couldn't just be the ultimate utility guy, play a little outfield, play a little infield. When you need base running, he's probably the fastest guy on the team. And maybe they see that as possibly a Grant McCray opportunity later this year, but it's still kind of a bummer because, I think we had envisioned like the perfect version of Tyler Fitzgerald was somebody who was going to play all over the field and just be that like the guy who fires up the Giants because he takes an extra base or whatever it was. And it just never worked out. He couldn't actually get on base, for one.
Right.
And then with all that speed, he didn't really steal bases in an efficient manner. Is getting picked off and having bad base running decisions and stuff. So unfortunate, kind of a bummer. I think age just kind of caught up with him too. He's now outside of what you would consider to be a prospect. So Tyler Fitzgerald no longer with the Giants.
I think the lesson learned here is, number one, if the Giants get swept in a 3-game series, your job is on the line. even though you had nothing to do with it. So be careful. But I think that's a joke. Obviously, the main thing is the Giants are looking for consistency, even in AAA. They're looking for consistency in backup outfielders. They're looking for consistency in utility men. And you lamented last year, and you just mentioned it again. We wanted, Tyler Fitzgerald to be that guy. But then last year, you even told me, you're like, but he's got to get on base. And I'm like, yeah, he just doesn't get on base. And that's a major issue. Speed is great off the bench.
Yeah.
Oliva, and Oliva kind of took Luis Matos's job. So that, that alleviated Luis Matos and let him go. And then with Tyler Fitzgerald, the other issue is you have the emergence of Koss, and then you've got a lot of infielders that are coming through the system right now. And so I think, and Casey Schmidt he's going to be your bench guy for 162 games. He's going to be not necessarily your bench guy, but he's going to be your utility guy. He's going to play. He's going to be on the roster for 162 games. That's just kind of how it is. So it's, again, if you're not consistent, the great flashes from Tyler Fitzgerald, 13 home runs in 26 games a couple years ago, never found that again. Couldn't get on base, couldn't get hits. And then same thing with Luis Matos. He's a guy that needs to play every day. An outfielder in Colorado, maybe, but again, you got to cover a lot of ground there. He's the type of guy, if you've got a club, not the Dodgers, because Dodgers can just spend money out the wazoo, but if you've got a team like, let's say, the Texas Rangers, who spend a lot of money, or the Padres, who normally spend a lot of money, if you've got teams like that spend a lot of money on an outfielder or two outfielders, you can have a Luis Matos in the outfield. Where the Giants have Ramos and Lee and Bader, there's just not the room, and Matos needs to play every day, and that's the bottom line. Hate to see him go. I'd love to see him get the chance, though. I mean, he could play in Cincinnati, a small ballpark. He could play in Colorado, small ballpark in terms of offense. So it'd be interesting to see where he lands. Actually, it's not interesting to see where he lands, because he landed in Milwaukee, right? But that's going to be kind of a tough one, I think, in Milwaukee, because they are loaded in the outfield. So I think that was one of those situations too, where they just kind of grabbed him and they said, look, we can do something with him. Maybe he can be a fourth outfielder. Maybe we can get some philosophies down for him. But again, all this just happened today, so we don't really know Milwaukee's plan, but we're going to see in the next couple of days what their plan is.
Dylan Smith, don't know too much about him other than he's 25 years old. He had a couple of appearances last year, and they were really solid. But yeah, other than that, I mean, there wasn't much about him out there that I could find. So we'll have to learn about him a little more as Grant Brisbee and Alex Pavlovich and Andrew Baggerly and Susan Slusser write their pieces about who he is. But, they you look at that bullpen and you go, yep, makes sense to me to, to add the possibilities of some arms. And I know I believe they're carrying 3 lefties right now, which I don't think that you can really carry that many lefties in the pen, because there's not enough. As you maneuver late in the innings, there's going to be more right-handed hitters than left-handed hitters. So they're going to make some adjustments. And, I think one of the things that was really interesting is we may have even said it on the show, I don't remember, but the idea that the opening day roster is literally just for that first series and, those first few weeks of the season. And then you adjust to see what you have, and you adjust to some of the other teams. Like, just funny, the Arizona Diamondbacks, they play LA. They don't have a single left-handed pitcher in their bullpen.
Right.
And you have Ohtani and Kyle Tucker as 2 of the best hitters on that team. Like, how ridiculous is that? Like, that's like someone should get fired for that, right? Like, it was so bad. But I think for Vitello, what will be interesting is to see, I don't want to make it sound like baseball or a team is an experiment, but if you think about, you have a product or something, and you're like, okay, we're going to do this, see what we learn from it. And then when we learn, we'll make the adjustment. And that's kind of like what the early season for Vitello might be, is, this is his first year having to make decisions on personnel, having to figure out who he can trust, who he can't. I still see that keeps calling back to his college days of, we used to do it this way. I'm like, okay, dude, I know. You used to do it that way. It was a lot easier. It was a lot easier. But that's kind of what this is going to be, is a little bit of a living experiment for him in real time, faster than it's ever been. His brain's going to have to process. And Andrew Baggerly had an interview with Greg Johnson, and Johnson had a comment saying, well, he's just won everywhere that he's been. And it reminded me of when Shaquille O'Neal said, when he was a young player before he became the Shaquille O'Neal as we know it, he was like, yeah, I won everywhere except for college and the pros. It's like
not like those two places matter.
I mean, I get it. I'm glad that Vitello was successful in college. That hopefully bodes well, but it really doesn't mean anything to fans that he won in college. It's like, okay, we want to see it up here. So that is kind of the deal with the roster. Now let's circle back to this series against the Yankees. Now I know you were in Disneyland. How much of the first game did you actually get to see?
You know, so the way our Disneyland days go is we like to rope drop, meaning you get there first thing in the morning, you get to ride all the rides that you want. Lines are short, use your lightning lane passes, do a lot, and then relax and grab some food and go around and see what lines are low at the other places, and then head back to the room. We just happened to head back to the room around 5 p.m. I did not plan that. So I caught, probably most of the game, but again, I was laying down and usually pretty exhausted. So I fell asleep for a few innings. But I did see, the ball get kicked around. I saw the horrible defense that day, but again, the defense kind of shored up the next couple of days. But I didn't see much of it in terms of like with the sound on. But I did see, some ugliness, and again, a lot of times you get the yips, the jitters on opening day. Especially with a weird Wednesday afternoon, 5:00 start. Games this time of year and in October, late September, early October, 5 p.m. games in San Francisco are not ideal for shadows. They're really not most places, but in San Francisco, especially because of the way the sun glares in that area. You're at sea level, and the sun just hits weird in that ballpark.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of expected that, and of course we come back Saturday night and we got a 4:15 start. So it's, starting out tonight's game in this series in San Diego is going to be a little bit better because they're going to have some normal light. We're going to kind of see this team in a normal setting. Again, high skies, brightness on the second game of the Yankees Giants series. Also, it was like a 1:45 start. Usually it's a 12:45 start. So yeah, I saw enough to say this is an ugly first game, but I didn't chalk it up to anything else other than it was a weird start and a weird time of the week.
The Netflix broadcast was very Netflixy, I guess is the right term. Very
sounds about right.
Very plasticky. Like, I was having a conversation with somebody about this, and they're not a big baseball fan today, but in their youth and stuff, big time sports fan. And I was like, the thing about opening day that makes it special is like the pageantry, the romanticism about baseball. So Netflix wanting to eventize opening night and trying to make game one this giant event, I don't think it worked very well.
Yeah.
But it's because what we baseball fans like about opening day is we're just really fired up, A, that baseball is back, and B, the idea that our teams have flipped the page on the calendar and can start anew. Right. And Netflix was trying to make it like the social media event or the celebrity event. And like that necessarily doesn't.
The game of the year.
Right. And so the home run derby, I think, will be fine. Like that's kind of an event for something like that. And I think it'll work really well. I'm not so sure about that Field of Dreams game because, again, it's a little bit about the romanticism, unless, maybe Netflix gets the streaming rights to the movie, and they somehow can, do some things with the movie. But so I kind of threw that first game away. Like, okay, this is not even really, it didn't really feel like baseball, though we did get to see Barry Bonds, and he got to chit chat, and he told a story about how he thought he was going to be a Yankee, and then George Steinbrenner put his foot down and gave him a deadline, and Barry was like, nope, F that. And then the Giants called. And so who knows if that was actually the real story, but it was great. Yeah. It was a great TV moment for a game when a lot of people had turned it off by then. But yeah, like that, I kind of threw that one at the wayside. I was like, okay, let's get to the rest of these games. And the second game, hearing Kruk and Kipe back together again, made it, even though they lost that game, it made it a lot better. Jeff Kent being in the booth and talking about his experience, as much as I kind of still dislike his personality, it is great to see that he is really celebrating, or he's like opening his arms to the idea of like, he's a Giant. So that's really cool. And then the Sunday game, was it the Saturday game? The Saturday game was the Fox Sports game. So then it was, it was back to being like a national broadcast and not our hometown team. We'll have a normal week coming up with the Padres and the Giants for these next. Is it a 3-gamer
against the Padres?
Yeah.
We've got 3 games.
Okay, so we have tonight, as we are recording on Monday night. We have no idea what's happening. We'll just hope for the best. And we have Tuesday night, and then we have Wednesday day game, and then they go from San Diego day game, fly out to New York, and they have to play Thursday night in New York against the Mets. Wow.
Oh no, we're home. We're actually home.
Okay. Got it. We are home.
Yeah, that's a home series. Right. Thank goodness, because that would be.
I was about to say that is insane.
That would be nasty. But the Mets for 4. That'll be interesting.
Mets for 4. San Jose State night on Friday.
That's right. I love that hat. Are you gonna try to go?
No, that's Crystal's birthday.
Oh no, she would not like that.
Well, I mean, she would if we were able to plan it, but she gets home. During the week is really hard for her to kind of do anything because of her job. Yeah, but so Friday night, San Jose State night, and then Sunday is Valkyrie's day. You get like a Valkyrie jersey or something, and then Monday is Santa Clara night. So you Santa Clara, what are they? The Bulldogs?
The Santa Clara Broncos.
Yeah. You Broncos fans, you get on Monday. San Francisco State Tuesday against the Phillies. So that's lots of colleges being celebrated here.
That's kind of a nice way to open the season. 3 games at home. Your road trip is 3 in San Diego.
Yeah.
You can stay on the West Coast, and then you've got 7 games at home. Although you play the Mets and the Phillies. And then that's when the first swing starts, when you go to Baltimore, Cincinnati, Washington.
Yeah.
But we do play the Dodgers actually in April. Last year, I don't think we played them until June. It was kind of nuts.
Yep. So the Padres themselves, they struggled out of the gate too. They faced Skubal on opening day, and they lost 8-2. I know they're having starting pitching issues. Musgrove is not back yet from Tommy John. Pivetta started game 1, and he's been having some arm fatigue issues. So, the Giants don't have these excuses necessarily of like guys being hurt. They just have like, this chemistry thing and new coach and all that. They need to take advantage of San Diego's slow start and play some really good baseball. You mentioned them kicking the ball around a little bit, and I was when you look at best team in spring training 2 years in a row, which means nothing, as we know, it means absolutely nothing. How they can play so poorly in the field in the first game was a little kind of alarming to me. Yeah. So I would love to see them clean that up. And then the other thing is some of these ABs, man, like just rolling balls, like just hitting the balls exactly where the pitchers are pitching and wanting them to, and double plays, and just some of these at bats, you just watch them and you're like, they have no chance here. Like
Yeah.
who was the righty in game two who just like he had like so many strikeouts. Who was that right-hander's name?
Schlit something.
Was it Will Warren? Was it Warren?
No, Will Warren was the Saturday game.
Okay, so that was a Saturday game. Yeah, the young kid on game two. Yeah, he was like
Schlittler.
they had like holes in their bats. He
Yeah.
was getting it by him. So that you want to see them fight a little bit better. Their biggies like Adames and Devers are just swinging through so many pitches. Like, my goodness, at some point, just maybe open one eye and you'll hit one of these. Adames and the actually game one, which I thought kind of set the tone for the entire game. Giants actually had runners on. I think it was it may have been like a first and third, and he's up there and he's like swinging out of his shoes, and he has it's like a 1-2 fastball kind of letters, and he swings at this thing like he was trying to hit it to the glove. And I was just like, this whole idea of what Buster Posey's been preaching about, putting the ball in play and not having these 3 true outcomes all the time. Like, and Adames was like, nope, I want to hit it to the glove. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is driving me nuts. Game one, we're already setting this tone of like these moments where had you just tried to be a little bit more like Arise, maybe we score early and the game changes, but nope. That's he's struggled out of the gate. He's actually had some really poor at bats, and we know Devers probably a little bit more of a slow starter, and I know he's hurt, but man, when he comes up, he's got to be the one that strikes fear in the other team's heart, and hasn't happened yet. So crossing my fingers on this Padres series. They don't even have to go in there and win all 3 games. Like, I just want to see them fight, man. I want to see them compete. I want to see them score runs. I want to see them put some rallies together. I want to feel like, oh, Ryan Walker's warming up. Does this mean we have a lead? Like, what's going on here? That's kind of what I want. So we'll see what happens, and hopefully we have a good series for the Giants this week.
Yeah, that's going to be a telling series. You always want to come off, a terrible series like the Giants just did, and like you said, put up a fight, do something, show some heart, go out there and battle. First inning, if the Giants go out there in the first inning of the first game, again, by the time you listen to this, the first game of the series is going to be over. But if they go out there in the first inning and put up a run or two, it's going to relax a lot of Giants fans. It's going to relax a lot of social media Giants fans, I think, more than just
very
normal
unhappy
Giants fans. Yeah, very unhappy. I want to see Tony Vitello. Vitello jumped out of the dugout when the Giants scored their 1 run on Saturday to greet Jung-Hoo Lee as he came across home plate. I thought that was pretty awesome. He's got a lot of emotion. He hasn't had a chance to show it yet. And I don't mind it. I love it. I mean, that's the thing we always tell the players, show emotion. Well, if you're the manager, show emotion. I don't care. Do it.
They got to buy into it though, right? Like those guys,
for sure.
Players in the dugout, for someone like Chapman might think of it like, dude, we got 159 more of these things. You got to save your energy. Or maybe Chapman, kind of goes, okay, I'm into this. Like, we needed this kick in the pants. We need to get excited about this stuff because we're a little old and stodgy here now. So hopefully
especially after like a tough East Coast swing. So you go on the East Coast, like it's coming up here. They've got 9 games on the East Coast. You go out to the East Coast, and after game 3 or 4, you're tired. You're kind of beat up. Things are you've been traveling. If Vitello's got energy, you kind of have to look at that and say, well, if he's got energy, I mean, I got to have it. He's older than me. I got to have that energy. So let's go out there and show. Let's play for this guy. I like to see him jump around. I want to make him jump around. And when I do something, it makes him jump around. So let's do that. Let's get going. So again, I don't mind it. I heard Trevor Plouffe on his podcast. He was talking about, he said, every time Tony Vitello says something in the post-game conference, press conference, I don't know what he's saying. he said he needs a what did he say? He needs a post-game press conference coach, because he said, I don't know what he's saying. I don't know what's going on. And he needs a coach to help him through his words. I thought, no, he's fine. Just let him go,
the thing with Vitello is, it's almost like he wants to say the right thing for the fans, and he wants to say the right thing for his players. So what does he look toward? Well, he's just like, it's my fault. I was I was too fired up for this game. My speech was wrong. No. And what he doesn't want to say is that the players played terribly, or they didn't. You can't say in game one, yep, the Yankees showed up and we didn't show up. That is, maybe if you're Earl Weaver in 1978, you could say that. But at the same time, because he's got this microscope on him, because he likes to talk, that's what people are wondering. Oh, what is he going to say? Is he going to say anything? Is it actually going to be anything meaningful? Now, if the Giants go on a winning streak, I'm sure he'll be looser and he'll have more fun with it. But, you saw what Patrick Bailey said when they asked him, and Patrick Bailey got pissed off. And it was just like, give it a break. It's the first 3 games, cut us some slack, or whatever he said, which is probably what Vitello wanted to say. But because he's got the microscope on him, he can't say that.
Well, and the thing too with all of that as well is you gotta let, and again, so football's different, right? But Sean McVay, being a Rams fan, I listened to so many press conferences, so many after game press conferences, and he says quite often, I didn't put my guys in the right position. That's me. I need to do a better job of putting my guys in the right position to make the plays, but they also need to execute. And so it's okay to call yourself out and say, look, I screwed up the decision to not pinch hit for Jung-Hoo Lee in this situation. I should have pinch hit for him, but that's our guy, and we expect him to come through with a hit and have a better at bat. Yeah. And he expects that of himself too. So there are ways to say that. I just think I hate to say it, but I think, and I don't think he's in over his head, but I think he's still feeling it out. Look, he doesn't know what each player on this team will respond to yet. Yeah. But he will get it eventually.
He should.
He knows what Drew Gilbert will respond to, right? Because he managed him.
Yeah, so he just has to put a raw steak in front of his face, and he just goes, go.
Exactly. but he'll need to. What does Chapman respond to? What does Elliot Ramos? What does Logan Webb respond to?
Yeah, that's coaching right there.
That's coaching, and
having that relationship.
He's gonna get that. It's just not there yet. So it's going to take a while. Like I said in our group Giants chat, I want to see 50 games. I want to see 50 plus games. I don't want 3 games. Got it. Series over, move on. I want to see 50 plus games. If we're still doing this after 50 plus games, there might be a problem. I don't expect that to be an issue, though.
Well, on the Giants Dodgers preview that I did with Draven while you were gone last week, I said that I thought Adames was a little bit of a litmus test for them, because Adames has such a great personality. He's always up. You never see him down. There's a fun out of him that I think you need to see more of. And the way we're going to see more of it is if he plays well.
Yeah.
And so right out of the gate, he played poorly. And that was almost like that was kind of the team's character and the team's personality was, I want to see if he plays well. I want to see that team take that personality, take his joy, and he's one guy that I look towards to be that pulse, that heartbeat. And I think he's going to have a really good year for the Giants if they're going to have a good year. Because I'll say it now, I veered from my usual 81-81 prediction. Finally, I said they were going to win 83 games, and then they went out and lost the first 3. So now they got to like make it up. I put them in a hole. But
well, wait until you see what that over under is when our predictions come up near the end of the show here.
All right, well let's talk ABS first, and then we'll save the
Yeah,
predictions for last. What did you think?
I love ABS. I think it's fantastic. And again, I got to see it in Reno quite a few times over the last couple of years. The Aces ballpark, Reno's Arizona Diamondbacks AAA team is here in Reno. They're Reno Aces. So I have seen it in action for a few years, and I absolutely love it. I couldn't wait for it to come to baseball when they announced it. I think it was great. I mean, Elliot Ramos really worked it. I thought that was cool. He got himself from a strikeout to lead off the 9th inning to a walk. If the Giants were hitting better, that could have turned into something. It did not, but still, I want to see, and we talked about it yesterday over our chat. I want to see how it's used. I want to see a little bit more of the situations. Like I've seen a lot of guys almost want to go to their hat, and not just necessarily the Giants, but I'm watching a lot of baseball. I watch a lot of baseball during the season. I've got 4 games on in the background right now in a 4 box. I just love the league. But I see guys, in a 3-0 count in the 2nd inning of a 0-0 ball game with 2 outs at a borderline, the gimme strike. It doesn't have to be down the middle, but it's borderline.
Yeah.
And I see a guy, and it's called a strike, and I see a guy almost want to reach for his helmet. I go, this is not the time. If you lose this challenge on a 3-0 pitch, that's not going to go well with the manager. So it's going to be used, and especially if you save him to the 9th. I mean, when you get to the 9th, heck, you might as well use him, especially if you're battling and you're down by 2 runs. Use those challenges if you still have them left. But I absolutely love it. I don't think it takes too much time. Just like when we're watching a game here in Reno, it doesn't take too much time. It happens pretty quick. I think they're going to dial it in a little bit faster in each ballpark as well. I love that it's showing up umpires. CB Buckner had a rough day. It's 6 or 7 calls overturned the other day. And so it's going to call out some of the umpires, and I'm okay with that, because if it makes them better and less challenges are used, or more challenges where they're wrong happen, where the batter or the catcher or the pitcher are wrong, fine. That's good. I think it's all good for the game, and I really enjoy it.
The one thing that I worry about a little bit is if you go to a game, Giants are, they're pitching. Ryan Walker's on the mound, close game, 3-2 count. He throws a slider, right-handed hitter takes it, outside corner. That moment where the fans look at the umpire to see whether to just go into crazy hysterics or not. The umpire can make that call, but you kind of have to know if the other team still has challenges left before you can really celebrate, because if they don't, then you can celebrate. But if they do, then you got to wait for the hat tap, and then you got to wait for 3 seconds, and then you can, it's just not as organic at that moment. So we'll see how that works itself out. On TV, not as big of a deal, but on home, when you're at the game, that's where it'll, that I think that's where I'm interested to see how that plays. But I'm all for getting calls more right than wrong, for sure.
Right. And I think we worried about that too, with plays at the plate to end the game. And when replay was introduced, and we thought, oh, play at the plate, is it a win? Is it a loss? What just happened? We got to wait. Now they got to review it in New York and this and that. that happens a handful of times, and I think we've kind of gotten past that. And it's like, okay, that's part of the game now. So I think overtime is just going to be part of the game. But you're right. I mean, it's just another situation for us fans to be aware of, and I like that because it kind of focuses me in on the game a little bit more in the ninth inning, a little bit more strategy. Like, okay, do they have? They don't have any challenges left, so Patrick Bailey can get a little more dramatic with the framing, so that could be fun. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. And again, we're only 4 days into this, so we're going to get a lot more as the season goes on.
All right, let's go to our last segment here, which is our over-under predictions. Every year, Brad puts together 5 over-unders, and we try and predict, and then we circle back at the end of the season to see how off we are.
Yeah. I think we've done fairly decent last year, but let's take a look here. So I went with 5. They're not necessarily like the greatest, and we've heard some of these before, but they're running themes with this team. Until we get out of 81 and 81, I think some of these might be the same each year. But I wanted to start with overall wins, and I set the over under a little ambitious. This is a number I was thinking of before the 3-game series against the Yankees.
Mm-hmm.
I set the over under at 87.5. And I want to see what you think on that. I know you just said 83 and then you had to revise after you saw the 3-game series. But remember, this team could go on a run. They still play the Rockies this year. They still play the White Sox this year. They still play some bad teams this year. So over under 87.5 wins at the end of the year.
If they get to 87.5 wins, like that is an excellent season. Like that's better than like what I would expect to be happy with this year. I'm going to say under because like I said, I'm more in the 83, 84 range, but that makes me more optimistic than I've been the last couple of years where I'm like, they're 81 and 81. And so I think where my mentality is at is they're going to be in a position to do something, as Buster showed last year before the All-Star break. They're going to have some needs that they will need to fill. And I think in order for those needs to be filled, they need to be playing good baseball. Like even if they're playing, within a few games of the wild card or, let's say within 5 games of the wild card come the All-Star break, I'm not sure that's going to be enough for Buster to go, hey, we're going to give out some of these prospects. And that's kind of what I'm getting at is they actually have prospects that people want. And so if you need something, if the Giants all of a sudden are in the mix and they are sitting, second in the wild card race or whatever it is, Buster has proven that he's willing to take the shot.
Yeah.
But he's also proven, which was after the trade deadline last year, when they were not playing well, that he's not willing to take a shot. He's willing to actually trade off pieces, Doval, Tyler Rogers, and continue to build the farm system. So my instinct says they're going to be a wild card team, and they're going to be playing well enough for Buster to make another move. And that's kind of where my head is at. But hey, 80, if they get to 87 or 88 wins, I think that would be like, that's like where they were right before in like 2009 timeframe, right? Like that's where they were pacing to tell us like, oh my gosh, like this team might actually be good coming up soon. Because if they were to be able to do that, I think we would consider that a fantastic year based on what we've seen these last several years. So I'll say under, but it's not. It's only 3 games or so under, 3 wins under.
Okay, I'm going to put you at 83 just for fun. So we can look back at the end of the year and say, okay, this is kind of what we said. I also went under, and I'm thinking closer to 85, 86 wins. So I'm going to put myself down for 85. Like you said, too, I think Buster's going to go for it. He wants to win. Listening to the Greg Johnson interview, he wants to win. If you believe that, if you take that out of it, the problem is Papa Chuck Johnson, he likes money, so I don't know what that means. You know,
how old is that dude? Isn't he kind of at the end of the rope here?
I think he's in his 80s. Yeah. So if Charles Johnson ends up taking over the team, things might be a little bit different, but who knows?
So Skynells in the chat says high of 88. So that's a high end. That would hit your over.
That would be an over.
High end.
That would be an over. All right. There we go.
There you go.
And I think we get to 85, and I think we get higher if we had gone deeper into the bullpen in free agency. Personally, I think that's what would have happened. I think we'd be closer to like 88, 89, which brings us to the next one. The great Ryan Walker saves on the season. Over under set at 20.5 saves.
Ooh. If you said 25, I was going under.
There you go.
But at 20.5, all that really means is that he doesn't have to be displaced as the closer.
Right.
Because, if you're a half decent closer, you're going to get upwards of 20 saves no matter what. But if he's replaced, then that would change things. But no Randy Rodriguez. They would possibly have to trade for somebody, or maybe, Blake Tidwell or somebody comes up and is able to just get punch outs. I will go.
Or Santos. You've got Santos too, waiting in the wings.
Santos. And then Peguero, I saw was thrown on the side today.
Yeah.
Whew. I'm going to say over, because I think that is a number that is very fair. I guess that is that is a good one to kind of figure out. If you like I said, if you would have said, like 15, I think it's way over. But if it's 25, that one makes me think.
Yeah, that's why I set it at 20.5, because that's more of you're cruising. You're doing a good job closing. You've got yourself through 20 saves. You've got yourself probably around July-ish at that point, right? July, August, and you remain the closer. So I also went with over on that one as well. My favorite, I like to put this one in there every year. Team stolen bases. We talk about this all the time. We want the team to be more athletic. Buster Posey talks about it. Tony Vitello talks about it. Everybody talks about how this team needs to be more athletic. And to me, part of being athletic is stealing bases. Giants have been around in the 60s, high 60s, mid 60s for the last couple of seasons. I went ambitious, and I set the over-under at 100.5.
Okay, let me follow up. Who's going to be stealing the bases? Because I looked at this lineup today.
Yeah.
And I don't know where these stolen bases are coming from.
I think they're going to come from better jumps, better reads, better analytics, better situations. I think it's going to be everybody on the team. Luis Ariz already has the stolen base. I think once Oliva gets in there, he's going to have some stolen bases. I think Ramos is going to have some opportunities. Again, we haven't seen it because we haven't had a lot of guys on base in the first 3 games. We haven't had those situations. We haven't had close games where it's like, last year Melvin was really, really reluctant the second half of the season. They came out of the gates stealing bases.
Yeah.
After that, he really backed off because they just could not get people on base. If this team gets people on base, I think they're going to run. They're just going to run. I think they're going to want to put pressure on the defense. They're going to want to put pressure on the pitcher, the catcher, middle infield, get guys out of position, some hit and run, some different things happening. So that's why I set it at 100.5. A little ambitious. I went, 30 plus more stolen bases. But what do you think?
I have to see it to believe it. I'm under on this one.
Yeah.
I mean, unless you tell me that, all of a sudden Grant McCray becomes the reincarnation of Ricky Henderson or something, right? Like if Grant McCray all of a sudden starts playing and he ends the season with like 25 bags stolen, then
Right.
that's something that could
And he
poop
could.
them up.
He could. That's the whole thing. That's why I decided, you know what? Let's go 100.5. Let's push this team a little bit. They have one stolen base through 3 games. But again, they haven't had guys on base yet to be able to show what they can do. And again, for fun, because I want to see it, I want to will it. I went with the over. I'm gonna get that one wrong, but I went with the over because I want to will it into happening. All right, our next guy. This guy was talked about a lot in spring. Bryce Eldridge. Games played in San Francisco with the San Francisco Giants. 110.5 over under on that one.
I'm gonna go under, but I don't think it's gonna be under by that much. Okay, so actually, I think the more games he plays actually probably means that the offense is struggling. So maybe if I'm rooting for him to be on this club, then that's probably doesn't bode well for how well the offense is doing. But I looked at that lineup and I was like, man, how do you get Bryce in the game? Because in order for Bryce to play, that means Arise has to play second, and he or Devers has to DH. And then, what do you do against left-handed pitching? He probably has to sit. So there's like the way that this roster is put together, it's not as if he is going to be the guy who's penciled in just to play every day and play first base. And if they want that to happen, I'm not sure Arise can be on this team necessarily, because I think Arise is going to be very valuable offensively and not valuable defensively. I know Ron Washington is trying to bring him up and praise him. I don't see it. I watched a couple of games where I see him take these routes to get to the ball, and I'm like, he had to take that route because he doesn't think he can get to it taking the short route. And when I see middle infielders take the long route to the ball, it's because they don't want to look like the ball is past them like so quickly. And I'm seeing that with him already. So if he's hitting and they don't trade him, he's either going to have to play first base or I think he's going to have to DH, because I just do not see him playing second base 150 games this year. Unless I'm missing something. Maybe there's going to be some stat tracking stuff where it's like, oh yeah, his jumps are incredible and he's actually getting. I just see a guy who looks really slow there.
Yeah.
So, it kind of makes me think that if Bryce was to kind of get the full go ahead, it would have to be at the risk of somebody else, and that could be Arise, because you can't have Bryce and Arise and Devers all on the field at the same time, or all in the lineup at the same time, unless Arise is playing second base. And I just don't know if that's going to be the case for the full year. So I'm going to say under 100 or so. I think it'll be probably closer to high 70s. And some of that may come at the end of the season where maybe they're not as worried about, like if he gets a long, let's say he gets 300 at bats in AAA or 250 at bats in AAA, then maybe they're not worried about him necessarily having to play every day, and he can come up and they spot start him and stuff. And so maybe he can't get to like 60 to 70 games.
Yeah. And remember too, they don't have any lefties off the bench. So I can see him coming up. I mean, and again, one pinch hit is a game.
Right.
So I went with the over on that. I'm looking at like 115 probably, because I think he's going to get some pitch hit opportunities. If he does come up early, I think we're going to see him probably in the next month. I'd say about 30 games into the season. So that's why I stuck at right around 115 for myself. But so
I think what is probably likely to happen is Brennan. I think Brennan's going to be up
Mhm.
because he's a young vet and he'll
Right.
understand that role. And you don't have to play him every day, and he's left-handed, and it probably means Encarnacion, something happens to him. I think they're probably gonna wait to make that move just to give Encarnacion a couple of shots, but he hasn't been in the lineup yet, and this is already game 4.
Right.
So I'm not sure. Like, he is not a guy who's gonna come in and pinch hit and be happy. Like, he needs at bats too, because he's got so much power, and he's got to get into rhythm. So I don't really understand, and maybe it's just that they haven't faced any lefties yet, which is probably the thing. But yeah, the way that this like, if we knew we weren't facing lefties, you probably don't need Encarnacion, but then you would have had to waive him, and then so they were kind of stuck roster wise there.
Yeah, I think so. And again, I think you're going to see, at some point you're going to see Jung-Hoo Lee off the bench, and we will be in situations where you're going to see some lefties off the bench because you got to start right-handed batters, and different things. You'll start Encarnacion in right field. Jung-Hoo Lee is going to be off the bench. It'll get mixed up a little bit, but yeah, it is it is kind of an unsettling roster makeup at the moment, but that could change easily throughout the season. And then the last one for fun. This is fun because everybody always bashes on Arise and his defense. So I went to FRV. If you are familiar with Baseball Savant, you are familiar with fielding run value, something that Patrick Bailey leads the entire league in every season that he's been up. In 2023, Luis Arise played 100 and I think it was 134 games at second base. That's the most games he's ever played at second base. 1,124 innings at second base. He had an FRV of -8. That means he was good for giving up 8 runs throughout the season. Is it really an exact science? I don't know, but they do score you on range, arm, and turning of double plays on the infield when you're a second baseman. His range was -8. That was his whole -8 right there. He didn't make up for it in getting outs, extra, saving runs with his arm or his double play ability. This season, he was signed to play with the Giants at second base. Do you think his final FRV at second base for the season will be over or under -5.5?
So under -5.5 means closer to 0, right?
Correct.
Okay.
It would be -5 or greater, -4, -3.
Okay, can I give you his FRV since 2019?
Yeah, absolutely.
Minus
But again, this is only at second base. What he's going to be scored at second base this season.
It's a bunch of -9s, -3, -4, -3, -10, -9, and then last year he was at -5. So that was actually like a really good year for him compared to that.
None of this with Ron Washington. Let's just throw that out there. I'm just throwing it out there. And through 3 games, do you know where he's at through 3 games at second base?
0, I think, right?
An even 0.
Okay.
Even 0. Yeah.
I think he will be better than -5. So I think he will probably be between -5 and 0, whether that's -3, which I think has been his best year so far.
Right.
I think it'll be between -5 and 0. That doesn't mean that I think he's going to be good there.
No, absolutely not.
But I think he will be better than last year and the year before. The problem, though, is when your best pitcher gets ground balls, it's tough to have a middle infield. Now, you have a great third baseman. Your shortstop is I'm concerned. I can't tell if Adames is a good shortstop or not. Like, he'll make a good play, and then he'll make a bonehead play, and I'm like, what are you doing?"
Yeah.
Um, so the Adames and Arise double play combination, I think they have a lot to live up to. They have a lot of work to do together. Ron Washington shouldn't only be, focusing on Arise. He needs to get Adames back to a level that he was
Oh,
before.
he's even working with Chapman. I mean, he's working all of these guys. So yeah.
But I'm not worried about Chapman. That dude is just an ace. And look, if Devers gets back on the field, because I know he's hurt, I think Devers could actually be pretty good at first base. He's not going to be Gold Glove. He's not going to be Brandon Belt, but I think he'll be of value at first base just because he's an infielder. He's had to make plays on the other side before, and so I think he'll be able to make plays at first. But yeah, like I am really worried about that infield. Thankfully, they've just adding Harrison Bader and moving Jung Hoo to right should improve that defense in the outfield a lot, and it helps having Bailey back there. So it's so crazy because they have like an elite catcher, an elite third baseman, and a damn good center fielder, and yet I'm not sure it adds up to great defense quite yet, just because of the other players. But yeah, I'll take the over on that, Arise.
Yeah, of starting shortstops last year in all of the league, Willy Adames was 7th with a +4 FRP, just so you know. Yeah, and do you know in 2023 when Luis Ariz was -8 at second base, do you know who led the league at second base in FRB? Tyro Estrada for the
No way.
so +16 runs saved.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Didn't play a ton there because he was injured the second half of the season. I think we talked about it too back in the day when we were doing the podcast. We said if he would have kept on and if he would have not gotten injured, because I think he was an all-star and he was close to being an all-star. If he had continued on, it was probably a Gold Glove season for him.
Yeah.
But because he got injured and missed quite a bit of the second half of the season. But again, missing quite a bit of the second half of the season, he still ended up leading all second basemen with a +16 FRB. So.
Is he in the league right now?
I believe he was in Colorado last year. Let's see if he's still there. Looks like he might still be there. Nope, he is still a free agent. So he is out there if the Giants need a second baseman.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. I also went with under on that one. I'm thinking he's going to be definitely improved, and I think improved enough by 4+ runs with Ron Washington being there. Again, this is considering he plays 1,100 innings at second base, 1,100 or more innings at second base. Again, 1,100 innings at second base was good for 134 games. Is he going to play 130 plus games? That's not a caveat in this. He could get moved to first base tomorrow, end up with a 0 at second base, and you and I both win because we picked him.
There you go. All right. Well, good luck to the Giants this week as they have the roadie against San Diego, and then they have the Mets and the Phillies in their next 2 series at home. So I just do not want to see the same team that I saw this weekend. So anything better than this weekend, I think, is a positive.
Again, runs early. You're on the road. Put up runs early in Oracle South in San Diego at Petco Park. Put up some runs early. Get those Giants fans into the game. Vitello is going to get his first shot at seeing what Giants fans in Southern California look like, because Giants fans take over Petco sometimes. So it'll be interesting to see.
All right, that is it from here. For Brad, I'm Double G. See you when we see you. Peace out.
Peace.